We have Kevin Hincks, co-host of Fast Market, live at the CBOE. Your thoughts this morning here? We see a lot of green arrows on the heels of this U.S.-China deal talks, right?
Good morning, Nicole. Yeah, you know what? Scott Bessent to the rescue, it looks like this morning. You've got big gaps in equity futures and stocks in general. Obviously, there's other news out that's going to affect healthcare, but besides that, everything else is pretty much gapping on the upside. And so now you look at the effects of the rising U.S. dollar, what it has on gold. Look at yields that have now recovered from where they were. You look at crude oil, still going to be down 10 to 12% for the last 5 weeks, but higher than it was. So, this is going to be a day where we're taking these severe levels of tariffs, taking them off down to 30% for the U.S. and 10% for China. Basically what they did, they lowered all of them 115%. The fentanyl tariffs are still on, and then there's 10% each way. So that's where we sit now. Now what, though? If you're trading these markets, this market's not going to open and grind up to 3%. It's going to gap open 3% higher. Now traders have to decide, well, what is it from here? Is it another 2% higher, 1 or 2 today, or does the market back off? I think you're going to have a real crazy day in the markets. I think you buckle up here and then watch for the continuation of news coming out. But right now, no one saw this coming, but maybe we should have, Nicole. Here's why. Normally when trade talks start, third level staffers go meet and they set up groundwork and they set up the parameters. This was top level people from the U.S. and China talking. Maybe we read this wrong. Maybe we should have seen the opportunity for more progress, but no one saw this much progress, Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Also because at one point, Scott Bessent said it could take 2 or 3 years. So he sort of lined us up to be ready for a long haul. This seems to have gone quite swimmingly. Also noting that China in the past had made some agreements in prior administrations that they didn't uphold because they weren't checked. This is what he said today. So China knows that whatever deal they make now today, they're going to be checked. I don't know whether or not that was true, what he said. I didn't check it myself, but I know that now Scott Bessent and the Trump team plan on making the deal, following up on the deal, and alluding to the nice, good relationship that President Xi and President Trump have that also help things along. This impacted the commodities. You're watching all the commodities too, right?
Yeah, exactly right. All way that goods move back and forth is going to be affected by this, right? You see a lot of the apparel retailers higher this morning. You see a lot of the grain markets. Like I said, crude oil, commodities are higher. I think this just frees up the U.S. economy and basically takes us, the charts, Nicole, let's face it, from the first couple days of April till now, it's going to look like a big V in terms of the stock market and the equity indices, and it's going to kind of be the opposite in some of these other indices. But remember, the dollar had sold off down to the 97 level. It's back over 101. Crude oil got as low as $57. Now it's back in the low 60s. The 10-year yield got down to 3.9. Now it's back above 4. So now sitting, around 4.4. But, these are the moves in all these markets, the massive moves. And so traders have to evaluate, where are we now? Now what happens? And so, so many people, Nicole, that were so negative on these markets. And you and I have watched this evolve where they clearly mapped out the worst case scenario for the markets. How many people mapped out the best case scenario? Not very many, Nicole.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. Most folks did not expect some best case scenario for this weekend, that's for sure. And you have the 10-year bond yield at 4.46 this morning. The likelihood of cuts from the Fed has now been pushed back to September. We have oil, gold, dollar, inflation for this week. We have some eco prints this week, too.
Yeah, we have so tomorrow we'll get CPI data. That right now the year-over-year numbers are expected to come in 2.4%. That's unchanged, and 2.8% on the core. That's unchanged. But be careful there, Nicole, because energy is down. Based on when they took this measurement, it could be down anywhere from 10 to 20%. That's going to dominate this CPI data. So real interesting, tomorrow's CPI numbers, because remember, airfares have come crashing down. Energy prices have come crashing down. Let's see how that affects the overall prices. Remember, last month was a big beat. Remember where CPI headline month over month came in down a tenth. All the consensus is for it to be up 0.3 and up 0.3 in core, but I don't think these prognosticators know what it's going to be. But just watch for energy in tomorrow's CPI data. Then we'll get PPI on Thursday. In between that, we'll get retail sales and Walmart's earnings. So we're going to get a good look at inflation this week, and we're going to get a good look at the U.S. consumer this week with retail sales and Walmart's earnings. So yeah, a lot going on here throughout the week, but a big start to the week, Nicole.
Yeah, exciting week too. I mean, what a way to start off, right? We'll take it. A lot of up arrows. When you see stocks up 3% this morning, it's a big move. Thank you, Kevin Hincks at the CBOE. Thank you.